This is Rockingham in Northamptonshire for round 3 of the 2014 British GT Championship. Now, after the 2 sprint races at Alton Park, this is the first real endurance test of the season. A 2-hour race involving driver changes, refuelling and tyre changes, all rolled into one big game of strategy. Ago, the season kicked off in dramatic fashion at Alton Park. Here's Martin Haven to remind us what happened.
The Cheshire circuit provided plenty of good close racing, as well as a healthy dose of drama and controversy. The Aston Martin of Michael Caine and Ahmed El-Harthi claimed the first win of the season. Race 2 was just as exciting. The leaders came to blows, Mark Patterson and Gary Eastwood colliding, handing victory to the BMW of Alexander Sims and Marco Attar. The season looks very competitive. The 2012 champion leads by a single point from the reigning champion. GT4 is looking very competitive too. It was an Aston Martin benefit though. Race 1 won by Ross Wiley and Jake Giddings. Race 2 by new team TF Sport.
A great start to the season, and moving up from the GT4 Challenge, the Aston Martin GT4 Challenge I did last year, and British GTs is a big step for me, but the team, TF Sport, done a great job. Obviously we had a third, and to win in the first round was great, but obviously puts the pressure on now to keep that going for the rest of the year.
It was also great to see a return to the series for Gavin Kershaw and the Lotus Evora.
I think, we need to keep pressing her at the podiums because, like Rick Parker had 2 non-finishes at Alton, which is a massive disadvantage, and it's nice to take the checker flag and a trophy home, but it's more fun at the end of the season as well.
Alton Park also marked the debut of reigning Formula 4 champion Dan Camish, who has switched from single-seaters to GTs.
I spent the first few laps just, trying not to end up in the barrier. It's ferocious racing, it really is. You don't realise on the side of the track sometimes. I didn't, realise what it was like until you're in it. It gets interesting out there. You've really got to have your wits about you.
British GT is a 2-class championship, meaning there's always a race within a race. Here's Andy J to explain it all.
The cars that race in this championship are in 2 different classes, the GT3 and the GT4 car. Now, they look very similar, but underneath, they are very different animals. Take this, the GT4 car. Now, it's effectively a souped-up road-going version, with around 85% of this being the same as the road version. However, there are a few tweaks and changes. If I just open the door here, you'll see that it has standard paddle shift transmission and stock suspension. However, crucially, it does have improved aero, with a small wing and a front splitter. Oh, and of course, significantly upgraded brakes. All the luxuries have been stripped out to lighten the load and to make it go quicker, and of course there is an FIA-approved roll cage and fuel tank for safety reasons. Now, this is a more cost-effective way to go GT racing, and it even has the same V8 engine as a standard road car. However, this GT3 car is a thoroughbred racing machine, with only around 40% of this the equivalent of the road-going version. It has hugely advanced aero with this massive back wing and air packages around the car to improve the downforce, and highly modified suspension to increase the handling. Also, the big V12 engine in here has been significantly modified for racing to suck all the power out of it and get it onto the track, although it is based on the same one that you'll find in the road-going car. Mind you, take a look at these huge flared wheel arches. That's to accommodate the bigger wheels to make sure you can get all that power onto the track. So some of these panels may look the same, but they're actually made from a super light carbon fibre. So effectively, this is one mean sports machine. And in British GT, what you're looking at is a race within a race. It's race time here at Rockingham, and I tell you what, this is going to be huge. Right out the front, it's Marco Attard and Alexander Sims in the BMW. They are, of course, looking to lead the pack. However, at the front for the GT4 racing, this is going to be really exciting stuff. We've got Rick Parfitt Jr. here. He is going to look for a great weekend because, after all, Alton really didn't work for him.
Ready for the rolling start, round 3 of the Avon Tyres British GT Championship here at Rockingham. Marco Attard, the black and blue BMW, pacing them from pole. Andrew Howard, the blue and white Aston alongside. Mark Patterson in the Audi, and as we get the green lights with Gary Eastwood, he and Patterson clashed at Alton Park while dicing for the lead. Through Speedway Turn 1, rushing down towards the first big stop on the lap into the hairpin. And Attard, the pole man, long way off, has got the Aston and the Nissan of Chris Hoy. Well, Andrew Howard has rejoined fairly quickly. Chris Hoy towards the back of the field. That's the Strata 21 Aston. They were racing a Nissan last time out. Well, where has Andrew Howard got to? There is the champion down in about 10th place, so he didn't lose much ground. Oh, and that's John Minshaw. Now the Trackspeed Porsche qualified 9th on the grid. He's looped it around on cold tyres. There's Phil Driver, car number 6, in 4th position. So we've got BMW, Audi, BMW, Aston, Ferrari. Nice mix of makes. And Andrew Howard now up to 6th position, really recovering well from that first corner incident. Can Marco Attard escape here? Looks as though Mark Patterson might be starting to build up a little queue of traffic behind him.
There is Johnny Adam, Andrew Howard's teammate, of course. Maybe not the best start we would have hoped for, but hoping his teammate can recover. There he goes up the inside of Gary Eastwood, and that's not a bad move there for P5, so the race seeming to be turning around very nicely for the Beach team. Yeah,
Andrew Howard bold in traffic. He always likes to take it a little bit cautiously in the opening few laps, but he seems to have thrown caution to the wind to recover from that problem. There behind is the number 4 Aston Martin. Ahmed El Harthi and Michael Caine won the season opener, of course, right behind the Ferrari. Aston looking mighty powerful around the high-speed sweeps here at Rockingham. Dives inside the number 29 AF Corsa Ferrari, the red car passing Latoras. That is a battle for 7th place. The turquoise and blue Aston just holding on.
So making progress are the race winners from last weekend. And there's the race winner's teammate watching on quite anxiously to see how he can cope. But into the battle for 3rd place in GT4, it's the Lotus Evora that holds it at the moment, but under a lot of pressure from the cars behind.
So right behind him, Ollie Basie-Fisher, the black Ginetta with the orange highlights. Rick Parfitt Jr., the reigning champion, has already beetled away in the lead. And Jake Giddings, who won one of the races in Alton in the Beach Dean Aston, is in 2nd as we watch the wheel-to-wheel action. Ginetta with the inside line. And once the Lotus is offline, that might open the door. Ollie Basie-Fisher then up to 3rd place. The white car, 3rd place back in your shot. That's Alex Scherpen, another of the Ginettas, and Basie-Fisher cuts the nose off the Lotus, which will lose momentum. Look at that, Andrew Jarman in the number 49 Aston Martin, another race winner in Alton Park. Oh, trouble for Jody Firth. Looks like a fire at the back of the Trackspeed Porsche. It is. That's not flames from the exhaust on the overrun. He's reporting no mechanical problems. I think they're going to have to get that attended to. Let's take a look at the start.
And you can just see Firth there on the outside of the shot, and I think he just gets a little clip. He does indeed. The 888 there of Lee Mole just knocks him slightly, and that could be some exhaust damage.
Maybe the bodywork being knocked onto the exhaust. It certainly caught light for some reason. Well, they're going to have to attend to that. Things not going well for Warren Hughes there and Jody Firth. Here's the battle for 4th place. Aston versus Aston. 6 is Phil Driver. 4 is Ahmed El Harthi. The black car is the now lapped Ollie Basie-Fisher, 3rd in the GT4 class. And right behind the red Ferrari, Gary Eastwood, car number 14. He's got the Audi behind. Now they started further up the grid, so the Astons are making very strong progress.
With the United Autosports Audi of Mark Patterson, who just gets out of the way of some GT4 traffic. Now, interestingly enough, with that Audi, has some great downforce, great traction, but with Rockingham, a circuit which relies so much on the outer part on top speed, it lacks a little, and that could be why it's not looking as competitive on the outside of the circuit. But let's see what it can do on the infield.
The Aston Martin's certainly strong in qualifying and looking very good in the race here. Phil Dryburgh leading Ahmed Al-Harthi. One thing, of course, that the Astons do need is fuel compared to some of their rivals. So when they stop during this 2-hour encounter for fuel and tyres, could play an absolutely pivotal part in who ends up on the top step of the podium. Battle for 11th place. So Chris Hoy in the Nissan right behind white and black and red Paul White. That's the new Strata 21 Aston Martin. Behind him, which is the lone Bentley this weekend, the number 2 car of Steve Tandy. Then the recovering John Minshaw in his spinning Porsche, and Liam Griffin at the back in the Aston Martin ex-British touring car driver. So all sorts of different routes into this championship and all sorts of different machinery. And that big Bentley, well, Liam, we have yet to see the best from the Bentley, I think, but it's a great development programme here in British GT.
Well, absolutely, they've got 2 great drivers behind the wheel as well, Steve Tandy and James Appleby, as Chris Hoy gets a little bit loose there coming out of the corner, but it'll be interesting to see how the Bentley can attack Rockingham. Rockingham's not exactly the easiest circuit to pass, it's quite a wide car. Well, if it can handle itself in the straights, it'll be very fun to watch.
Trouble for Colin White. The GT3 Ginetta is back in the CWS garage. Looks like they are out of the race, and almost out there was Paul White, stuck the 21's nose right down the inside of Sir Chris Hoy. This is a little bit of a problem in a 2-hour race. You cannot succumb to frustration. Hoy trying to deal with slower GT4 traffic. And that means the guys behind are also trying to find a way by. But one mistake, Liam, could cost you the entire race weekend.
Yeah, definitely. The circuit, of course, very unforgiving. You've got a lot of pressure from much more experienced drivers behind. Oh, and there's a show of inexperience, maybe. Hoy getting very, very rusty indeed. And off went, I think, the Twisted Parker at number 46.
And also you saw the Lotus trying to dive out of the way, as I imagine at the very last moment he suddenly noticed the Nissan hoving in at the apex. But for Chris Hoy's point of view, he did nothing wrong. He came down the inside, went to the apex through the slower traffic. See how hard he's having to work the steering wheel though in the Nissan. Aston Martin looking a little bit more composed behind, and every time he sees a tiny error, I'm sure behind, chasing us, Paul White is getting a little more anxious to try and get by Sir Chris Hoy.
It's all about just maybe sizing up the manoeuvre there. It's all about picking the right place. It's a few select overtaking opportunities, the Dean Hairpin being one of them. You've got a great run going off the oval section of the circuit, but it's just all about the waiting game. You've got to be patient with a race of this length.
It's all about getting the right exit off this corner here, down the back straight, the pitch to the driver's left, and then these final couple of corners. If you can be right behind coming onto the banking, then with the Aston Martin you've got a real choice. But look, the Nissan's gone away, and again offers another Aston Martin, in fact 2. That's Phil Dryburgh in the tyres. You saw Ahmed Al-Harthi recovering. Doesn't look to be any damage on the front of the number 4 Aston Martin. That was, of course, the battle for 4th place in Liam. So often we see drama down there at the hairpin.
Yeah, we do. Even catches the most consistent of drivers out, and Ahmed Al-Harthi has finished every race in 2013, his debut season. A win at Alton Park. It's very unusual to see an error like that, but it's good to see Dryburgh back racing again. Now let's take a look at what happened. He's trying to go to the inside, just misses the line. I think both of them misread the corner, too focused on what the other driver were doing, and narrowly missed Jake Giddings.
Round 3 Avon Tyres British GT Championship at Rockingham. There in the queue for 10th place, car number 5, the second Oman Air car of Liam Griffin. And you can see Sir Chris Hoy in the Nissan moving by the white Aston Martin. That's the GT4 car of Andrew Jarman. He's 4th in class. And off is another GT4 entry, and that is Adrian Barwick's Ginetta, the twisted car. Early pit stop for the Audi. Now this is not a driver change stop. Mark Patterson reporting handling problems traced to a right rear puncture. They've thrown 4 new tyres at it. That is going to set them right back, and they were in the top half dozen. That has elevated this battle 1 more position up the order. Chris Hoy now in 10th place, because in front of him is Paul White, and that means again the Nissan driver is struggling for grip here, Liam. We've got a long way still to go as he's being attacked by the Porsche from behind.
Yeah, that light and nimble recovering Porsche, of course, of John Minshaw is all over the back of Hoy. The pressure is mounted incredibly. He goes to the inside, should be a textbook manoeuvre, but Hoy slams the door shut with authority. He's not going down without a fight just yet.
Car really seems to be struggling for tyres. Understeer and then oversteer where the back is sliding out wide. The Porsche went inside just on the corner there. Does he get through? He doesn't. And in the queue behind, the number 2 Bentley and the number 5 red and white Aston Martin of Steve Tandy and Liam Griffin are getting tangled up as again John Minshaw nearly into the back of the Nissan. Chris Hoy is certainly not having an easy time of it, and contact between the Aston and the Bentley. Phil Driver nearly collects Steve Tandy's number 2 as he gets spun around. Bentley rejoins. That might cause Liam Griffin some trouble with the steward. Steve Tandy, though, has lost a lot of ground. Hopefully there'll be no damage to the Bentley after that impact. Trouble for John Minshaw, a spin on lap 1 and now being pushed back into the garage, and it is hosing water down the pit lane, clearly overheating. Meanwhile, the champion Andrew Howard, car number 1, being dive-bombed by Gary Eastwood's red Ferrari. Blue flags being waved by the marshals to allow the slower cars in front in the GT4 class to know that there is quicker machinery coming up. That, though, is a clinical pass, and Liam, it shows you can get by at the hairpin without tripping over.
Oh, it's a great bit of wizardry there by Gary Eastwood, and now he's going to try and set his sights on those 2 BMWs that have pulled away a massive lead out front. He's going to try and get something going through the pit stop window, or more importantly, get through the GT4 traffic without allowing Andy Howard to come right back onto that rear end.
Well, I don't think they deliberately pushed that little Ginetta Paul McNeely off the track, but he certainly went grass tracking. He did well to hang on to that as the bigger cars came by, trying to give them room. Sometimes you've just got to be a little bit selfish, because it's easy to ruin your own race going out of the way to try not to ruin somebody else's. Oh, and that's Tanya Mann's Ginetta out of the GT4 battle. She looks pretty well beached in the gravel. That might mean safety cars. She's a long way off track, exactly where somebody else would go. There is our GT4 leader, incidentally, reigning champion Rick Parfitt, out front from the very start, looking unchallenged at the moment.
And there's Tanya Mann still trying to desperately get herself out of the gravel, but I don't think all the horsepower in the world's going to get you out of that. That is stuck in there good. And there's also Yusuf Lotus Savora, and that's coughing out. That's not looking too healthy at all.
It really isn't. Pole sitter in the GT4 class. I'm sure we're going to see an awful lot more of that car, unfortunately. However, the safety car has been scrambled. It's always more, I think, in hope than in expectation that drivers are using forward and reverse to get out of the gravel trap. Experience tends to teach you that it pretty much is a lost cause. There is your race leader behind the very damaged car of Jodie Firth, which is back out, getting a wave by from the safety car, a number of the field. Well, that has really killed Marco Attard's hard-won advantage. Right behind him is Derek Johnson in the BMW. There's Attard's teammate Alexander Sims at the Kyriakos. Barwell boss Mark Lemmer. All they can do is rue their misfortune. Still, at least their car is still going, which is more than you can say for the Lotus Evora. Still some work to be done on that car, but we are getting ready to restart round 3 of the Avantage British GT Championship. Marco Attard from Derek Johnston, the 2 black BMWs, and Gary Eastwood's Ferrari right up at the sharp end. Andrew Howard's in 4th ahead of Passin Latouras, but it is all about the race between the BMW Z4s. Really showing great speed here, and Attard judges the restart perfectly, out of harm's reach. Andrew Howard does not do so well. He's got the Ferrari right behind him. Passin Latouras might be making a lunge here. Ahmed Al-Harthi, the 3rd car in this queue. And Al-Harthi comes up the inside, and that was a well-judged restarting move. He picks up a place and leaves massive black stripes on the road as he unleashes the Aston's V12. Liam, great work.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a reason that car won at Alton Park a couple of weeks ago, and he demonstrated it right there. But let's see what the 20-year-old tyre racer can do. He also made an impressive debut last time out, and he'll be looking to very much continue where he left off. He's got a lot of work to do behind 2 very powerful and very quick Aston Martins.
Do you know what? I'm not sure Andrew Howard in the number 1 Beechstein car is going to escape either. I think the 2 behind him might offer more challenges. Well, there is Tanya Mann's car back in the pit lane, having been rescued as we get the battle for second place under braking. Gary Eastwood nearly took out Derek Johnson, goes off himself. Derek Johnson nearly took off our race leader. Take a look.
As you can see, Eastwood on the inside, Marco Attard on the left, gets the braking line correctly, but Eastwood runs out of road, fully aware that the leader's going to cut across, but thankfully all remain unscathed.
Leaders in the pits at Rockingham round 3 of the British GT Championship, approaching the halfway distance of this 2-hour encounter. Marco Attard, there is Derek Johnson's 888 BMW, those were the top 2. Drivers have to remember to unplug themselves from their radio connections so they get out the car and not to touch the car while they're fueling. Johnny Adam, do not get in. Team shouting at him, just probably avoiding a penalty there. Having to move the car back because Andrew Howard overshot the refueling area. Now then, that means that Gary Eastwood is our race leader, having had a little grassy moment a few laps ago. Not too much damage to the back of the Ferrari. And here's Dan Camish, ex-Formula Ford champion, getting ready for his stint.
And pit lane looking a very busy place here at Rockingham as Chris Hoy comes in, and there are the Akuri Acosta duo. Alexander Sims getting back into the car, looking to try and reinstate the lead that car had. It was looking pretty dominant during the first stint of the race. The safety car come out, so they made a green flag pit stop, and oh, that could have ruined it. A commentator's curse, I fear. That is the number 6 Kinfowl Aston Martin, and that's a disaster. Is that going to be another safety car though?
A little bit of damage on the front, but that's not from that incident. It may well bring out the safety car. That's where Tanya Mann went off. And there you can see, fresh out from the pits, Johnny Adam in the number 1 Beech Dean Aston, chasing Luke Hines in the 888 BMW. And they're about 3rd and 4th. Gary Eastwood, the race leaders, in front of us. Alex Buncombe a lap behind, though. He's just taken over from Sir Chris Hoyle, and there's a huge cloud of smoke. Eastwood has a big stop, and that's Morton Dons. He's bailing out of his very smoky Ginetta. I'm sensing that may not be brake related. A little lick of flame at the back of the car. Let's hope that doesn't transpire into anything more, but that looks like a very major blow-up. Of course, the issue there is they are absolutely flat out through that speedway banking corner. The other issue, of course, is if that brings out a safety car, as surely it must, it's basically free time in the pit lane. In comes Ahmad Al-Harthi. Michael Caine will take over the number 4 Aston Martin. Safety car is out ahead of Gary Eastwood. Now, does this give him the advantage in the race?
Oh, here's a big disadvantage, this one for John Gore. What happened with the number 6 Kinfowl Aston Martin? Big puff of smoke, the car off into the gravel, and unfortunately that one's not going anywhere anytime soon, as it rather limps its way onto the gravel and makes some unsettling noises for the team to hear.
Well, with the safety car out, everybody's going to be heading for the pits. I think John Gore had just come out of the pit lane on cold tyres. Jake Giddings is in. That means Ross Wiley will take over the number 407 Beech Dean Aston Martin, and GT4 rivals behind Andrew Jarman. The white Aston Martin hands over to Devon Modell. Again, fuel first, driver change afterwards. Aston guys are struggling with both their cars here today. The driver can get in once the fuel hoses come off, and then the team can change the tyres. In comes our race leader now. He's had a slow crawl round behind the safety car, don't forget, so he won't have gained much time.
One of the most interesting things about these GT3 pit stops is if you look at that front left wheel, you can see one central wheel nut. Now, GT3 cars are allowed to have these. The GT4 class, however, it has to have about 4 or 5 separate wheel nuts, and there you can hear them all being worked on to get that tyre off and replace it, and out goes the number 49.
Well, that is Devon Modell. He has picked up a place on the Beech Dean Aston Martin. So they need to get Ross Wiley moving nice and quickly. There's their teammates, the number 1 car. Well, Jake Giddings has already got out of the car. He's getting his helmet off, so as Ross leaves, let's catch up with Jake.
That was busy, wasn't it?
Yeah, the first hour's flown by, really. It was interesting. Got stuck behind the Lotus at the start, which I really didn't want because the Ginetta got away. So once we got past the Lotus, managed to keep the gap with the Ginetta at about 10 seconds, pulled the gap on the rest, and then when the safety car came out, I thought, oh great, we'll be able to catch up to him, but because we'd gone past it, we're still both going flat out to catch up to the back. Yeah, it's been eventful.
You sound like you need to lie down.
Yeah, absolutely knackered, yeah.
Hot sunny bank holiday weekend. Everybody's going to be feeling the heat. Rick Parfitt Jr. handing over the GT4 lead in Ginetta to Tom Oliphant. Again, it's not just the drivers, it's the tyres that will be feeling the heat. Rob Barth heads out with fresh rubber on the number 18 car. Came in, don't forget, with Gary Eastwood as the race leader. Can FF Corsa put a disappointing weekend of incident and accident behind them and secure a victory here at Rockingham? Red light means stop on the road and on the track, and Rob Barth has just shot the red light to leave the pits. And that, I'm afraid, may come back to bite him. Now, he's out on his own, and he can effectively go at full pace to catch up the safety car queue. Question is, will the stewards see that red light infringement? Well, let's see what happens now with Tom Oliphant. He is leading in the car that was our GT4 leader. And back in comes John Gore's Aston Martin, having been rescued. It is out of the race. Lights out on the safety car, ready to go racing again. Ignore the Bentley, it's a lap down. Second place in the race, car number 29, Richard Lyons, that Ferrari. The black 888 BMW, Luke Hines, is third. Fourth is Johnny Adam in that number 1 Beechstein Aston Martin, the third car back in your queue. And coming up on the inside behind him, Alexander Sims and Joe Osborne. Oh, and look, wheel to wheel. Sims down the inside of Osborne, and that is a change for 5th position. And right behind an Aston battle as well. The white car is Tom Onslow Cole, the ex-touring car race, shaping up down the inside of 38, Richard Abra, who goes just a little too deep under braking, and through goes Onslow. Well, the Bentley at the front of the queue trying to get out of the way, I think. James Appleby there. Yeah, look, he's letting the Ferrari through. The race leader, don't forget, Rob Barth, was way out behind the safety car. Up through on the inside comes number 5, Rory Butcher, getting by the twisted Ginetta that got rescued from the gravel earlier on.
And there comes Alex Buncombe in the Nissan up the inside of Devon Modell. It's a nice move. Opportunistic, and there goes the Nissan. So Chris Hoyer, not a bad stint, he did make a lot of backwards progress, but Alex Buncombe pushing that Nissan in the right direction and hoping to make the most of this restart opportunity that is so often very frantic.
Look at this battle here. This is for 4th place, Johnny Adam in the Beechstein Aston Martin with a BMW behind him, and one up the inside, Alexander Sims. The black and blue car goes through. So too does number 8, Joe Osborne. That is putting the BMWs further back up the order. Don't forget, 79 led early on. Marco Attard built up a big advantage before the safety car. And Andy is down in the pit lane. He's caught up with Marco.
How are you feeling now?
Well, it's quite glad it's over, but yeah, no, good. It was going really well. It's you know, it was everything was fine. The car was fine. The tyres were fine. The team has done a great job, and we had a good lead, and the safety car. But you know, there we go. That's the way it falls, isn't it?
Well, safety cars win a few, lose a few by staying out. Ollie Basie-Fisher in the number 55 Century car has handed over the race lead to teammate Matt Nicol-Jones. I wonder if that is going to work out for them.
Well, if I can be so polite, you look pretty shattered.
Yeah, no, first proper endurance race. I was out there for a bit longer than my stint I think should have been. The safety cars and things sort of played a big part in that. But no, yeah, so it was a serious stint of concentration. I mean,
you look like you've just done a marathon.
I imagine not far from it. No, it wasn't too bad, just after the car, the first. When you get out, the adrenaline's pumping, everything else, it's hard to settle down again. But
yeah, you're not going to sleep tonight.
Probably not. But no, fantastic experience, and I think I put some fairly respectable lap times, and I think we were running P3 for a while, so no, I'm really happy with how it went. I'm not sure what's happening at the moment. I'll have to go check with the team, but no, all in all, it's been awesome, so thank you very much.
Battle for the podium shaping up, three-way BMW battle. Luke Hines in front, Alexander Sims in the middle, then Joe Osborne, the other 888 car, and this is for 3rd place.
Now you can see a big move there by Alexander Sims, got in towards the first corner, parks it beautifully, and that should be signed, sealed, delivered. Indeed it is, and he'll now lead that BMW trio, providing he can hold his line going in towards the next couple of corners.
A real drama behind the two 888 teammates, 888 and 8, are going to be racing each other, and of course that always makes the team manager hold his breath a little more. Drive through for the Beechstein Aston in GT4 Ross Wiley was Andy is with Rick Parfitt.
I'm guessing you enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was good. I got a really good jump on the Lotus at the start. But I like this circuit. I had a good run here last year as well. It sort of suits me. It feels a bit like a kart circuit in the middle, so I'm happily throwing the car about with gay abandon, quite frankly. And yeah, it was good. Really enjoyed it.
And to be fair, without pulling any punches, it had to be after Alton.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I came away happy with the way I was driving, but obviously a very disappointing result. The car's been great in testing here, and I knew that I was quite strong around this circuit. It's about the only one, and so I wanted to make amends for last year, and that was great. Really enjoyed it, but very, very slippy and loads of cars throwing it off everywhere. So it was just a case of, you know, trying to make it happen. Oh no, we're in.
Yeah, you are indeed. Tom Oliphant crawling down pit road, left rear puncture clearly. That is the curse of the commentator. It wasn't me, that was Andy that time. The curse of the pit lane interviewer, perhaps.
That'll make it more interesting.
My next question was about to be top step is very important for you, but that now might be a case of hope that there's a safety car.
Well, we've got a puncture on the rear. As I was saying, the tyres were going off. We changed 2 tyres. That was obviously the wrong call. We should have changed 4. So we'll see what happens now. And
this is where it becomes a game of tactics as well, doesn't it?
It certainly is. We obviously made the wrong call, and we'll have to go and see what happens now. So
fingers crossed, mate. Fingers crossed.
Lots of drama in this long endurance race format, 2 hours. A lot of time for things to go wrong when cars are stressed, and more trouble. This is Alex Buncombe, and what's in the mirrors? It's an Aston Martin. So that is Michael Cain's car and Alex Buncombe's car. They were nose to tail. Cain in the number 4 Aston trying to get by the Nissan, and clearly they have both gone off.
So a look back at what happened then to Alex Buncombe, as he's currently just in front of Cain at the moment. He took a bit of a jumpy route there going over the corner, sneaks up the inside, tags the back end, and spins the Nissan driver around.
Avontage British GT Championship round 3 at Rockingham, our race leader on pit road. He's already had his mandatory pit stop. Rob Bath took over from Gary Eastwood, the leader, serving a drive-through penalty, we believe, for a pit lane infringement when he jumped the red light, leaving the pits the first time. Down with his teammate Gary Eastwood is Andy. Let's see if he's got a little more information.
Can you tell us what happened? There's been a sort of red light incident.
I haven't got a clue. I don't think it was when I was out there. It's a pit lane infringement. I think it's when we did the driver change. He's gone out there. I really don't know. I really ain't got a clue at the minute. So as far as I know, there was nothing went wrong out there when I was out there. So I'll let till Malcolm comes back. We'll find out.
So let's just see what exactly it was then. You're right on board with Rob Bath going out of the pit lane. Watch the pit light, you can see it's green at the moment, and now it changes to red, and it's very close indeed, but he did decide to go through anyway, and that is why the FF Corsa has a drive-through penalty.
Well, that looked a little harsh to me. I'm sure Malcolm Swetnam, the team boss there, won't be overjoyed with that. Question is, how's that going to affect the race? Here is the battle for 4th. Remember, we talked about the 888 BMW teammates duffing each other up. Well, so far, no contact, although it's going to be hard to tell, since if you leave paint on your teammate, it's going to be black anyway. Looks like Luke Hines with the yellow highlights being shaped up by Joe Osborne. He's making Osborne go the long way round the outside, and in identical cars, that's never going to work. Osborne looking for the cutback. You saw the dust as he spun the wheels up, trying to get the traction. And Hines with the yellow highlights, just gently easing his teammate onto the grass. Not sure that's going to play too well either with Osborne or the team manager, especially now the radiators are full of grass. The number 21, Aston Martin, has picked up a spot, so that didn't work at all well for the team. They've gone from 4th and 5th to 4th and 6th. Joe Osborne will be too impressed with that. Battle for 3rd in the GT4 class, the white Aston Martin, number 49, that's Devon Modell, 48 right behind Jamie Stanley in his Ginetta. And as they fight their own private battle, using every ounce of performance, closing up behind Richard Lyons, the red Ferrari, a GT3 car. This is one of the big problems for the GT4 drivers. They have their own battle, and yet the GT3 cars, which are quicker, also need to find a way by. And it's easy to lose half an hour of good work just by being too much of a gentleman as Modell drifts out wide in the Aston. Look, you can see the faster GT3 car desperately trying to find a way through. That almost was a change for position. And Jamie Stanley and that Ginetta might have more chances. Look, right behind the black BMW of Luke Hines. So, as the faster cars go by, he might capitalise. Into the pits, though, comes the other BMW, that's Joe Osborne. And all of that blocked cooling duct at the front is probably causing the car to overheat.
And as he pulls into the pit lane, look at it all just mount off. And I think that's a good half of the Devonshire countryside there, just being taken off the radiator. A bit of fire in the brakes, but I'm pretty sure that should solve the majority of the problems that BMW was having.
Right, well, unnecessary pit stop caused by his teammate, I'm afraid. Back with this GT4 battle. And again, another GT3 car goes by, the number 21 Aston Martin. Jamie Stanley and his Ginetta still trying to find a way by, and that's a spin for Andy Schultz. His GT3 Aston passed by the very smoky Lotus of Gavin Kershaw. Somehow still going despite all that smoke. Here is our GT3 Aston down the inside, car number 1, Johnny Adam, and look how much different it is compared to the GT4 car that we've just been watching. Wider, lower, fatter, huge wings front and rear. Actually, one of the things you notice on that white 49 Aston is it does have road car door mirrors, which at least are a little bigger, which is a good thing because you need your mirrors and your wits about you when the faster stuff is coming around. Richard Abra, the red and black Aston, goes around the outside. Faster GT3 drivers always complain about having to get by traffic, but it does cut both ways.
And the Ginetta GT4 and GT3 difference is a lot more harder to tell because they look so similar. And I'll tell you what, Jamie Stanley and that number 48 Ginetta will be hoping to get some of that GT3 power instead of just the looks to help him pass Devon Modell in the closing stages of round 3 of the championship.
Of course, the Aston Martin starts out as a road car, whereas the road car Ginetta is basically a slightly more civilised version of the racing car, which explains a lot of the similarities between the two classes. Gavin Kershaw in the Lotus Evora, still smoking even more heavily. I wonder if they're going to call it a day soon before it lets go in a big way out on the circuit. It is trailing oil as well, which is not a good thing. And Michael Caine, bits dropping off the car now after that impact early on. See why they've got such huge wheel arch extensions, because they've got massive wheels and tyres, as well as the full racing brakes and suspension. Big tunnels underneath as well for aerodynamic grip, which you won't see on the GT4 car here. Devon Modell still holding off Jamie Stanley. This is the battle for third place, a podium spot. Jamie Stanley sends it on the inside. Modell outbraked himself. Big lock-up from Jamie Stanley though. Oh, and it's a drag race. Stanley on the right of your screen has got the inside line up to the next corner, but will Modell have the run on him into the braking area? Not quite, so change of position, but again he overcooks it in the Ginetta, and contact from behind, just getting a little helping hand through the S's there from the Porsche of Warren Hughes. Hughes has got Alex Bunkum's Nissan right behind him. Through they come. So after all of that heart racing excitement, positions remain the same in GT4. Look at Alex Bunkum's eyes, double checking where the Aston is before he commits himself into the braking area. Well, rookie Devon Modell holding off Jamie Stanley. Jamie in that multicoloured Ginetta, the 2010 GT4 class champion in British GT.
And down the pit lane comes the number 407, so another trip into the pit lane for the Beechdean team, being piloted now by Ross Wiley. And this one looks to me like it's going to be a fuel stop. Yeah, Wiley comes out of the car, it won't be a driver change, but even so, that's going to be a massive dent in their charge for a second win.
So they lost the lead with their original drive-through, and now they need a splash of fuel, we're hearing, and that is going to cost them second. This makes this then the battle for second place. Still 49, the white Aston Martin of Devon Modell versus Jamie Stanley, the multicoloured Ginetta, which means that Stanley has, in fact, when he crosses the line, inherited a position on the podium anyway. So, gentlemen, keep it clean, because you don't want to both give away second and third places. whatever else, at the end of this stint, they're going to know they've been in a motor race. These two have been in very close company. They say you only need two to make a race, and they are certainly making a race of it. In fact, this is not quite yet the battle for second place, because as they come across the line, Ross Wiley has already left the pit stall, so he's still shown in second place. Where is the Beechstein Aston Martin? There is the Beechstein Aston Martin. He's out of the pits. Is he in second? Just under braking. It is now a three-way battle. How much more entertaining could this get? And there are no more GT3 cars to worry about for a few minutes. So right now, on the back of the queue, Jamie Stanley in the Ginetta is in the perfect place. He can just sit back and watch the Astons dust each other up and pick up the pieces.
Ross Wiley as well, whilst being in that pit stall, the brakes would have gone colder, the tyres would have dropped temperature. He's going to be very vulnerable, and they have to take advantage of this. If Modell's going to make a pass, he has to do it immediately.
That's a very good point. You could see how defensive Ross Wiley was getting way off the racing line, just guarding the inside, trying to make sure that Devon Modell had to go the long way round. Well, for Modell, only his third race in the championship, so this is a great chance to really show strongly in the GT4 class. And all eyes will be on this battle, because our leader in GT4, Matt Nicol-Jones, is safely clear of it, which in a way is good for him because he's not challenged for the lead, but this is what you go racing for, to race wheel to wheel with other rivals, especially when the cars are so even. Two Aston Martins, one Ginetta, barely a tenth of a second difference in lap time between them, but having brought his tyres back up to temperature now, it looks like Ross Wiley may be able to keep his nose in front in second place.
Jamie Stanley, the most experienced of all three drivers who are currently in this battle. He knows how to react in this situation. He's been there before. The other two still relatively new to this. There's a lot of pressure, not just from the cars behind, but knowing you're so close to a race finish, it's all up for grabs. Modell almost has a bit of a sniff, but Stanley will be the coolest, calmest driver there, whereas the other two may have their tensions just a little bit unnerved.
Now, the race leader is coming up behind them. This is Rob Bath. Despite that drive-through penalty, he is still in front, and he sighs his way past Jamie Stanley. The blood is in the water, and Bath is in hunter-killer mode. He knows the chance to win for the first time in British GTs is just a few minutes away, and he cannot afford to trip over these GT4 cars. He's going to have to be very careful where he picks and chooses his point. Goes straight by the number 49 of Devon Modell, and right in front, 407 Ross Wiley. And of course, these GT4 cars all in their own battle. Bath picks his way around the inside, and despite that drive-through penalty, it looks as though he is going to be the beneficiary of the safety car. You see the number 5 Aston Martin flashing its headlights. It is a lap behind, so not in the battle for the race win. So I think the GT4 guys will ignore him and let him go by on the banking. Devon Modell still in front of Jamie Stanley. That is third and fourth in the GT4 class. Time running out for Jamie Stanley to try and catch this white number 49 Aston Martin. Good battle going on here though for 9th place, the delayed Joe Osborne versus Andy Schultz, who spun that red Aston earlier on, and if he sends it up the inside that tight, then again, he might spin it yet. Well, our race being led by Rob Bath, second Alexander Sims in the Acuria Cos BMW, third Richard Lyons. Michael Caine still going, determined not to stop. Seems to have ended up shedding no more bits off that number 4 Aston Martin. Top 10 finish perhaps still on the cards for them. There is Gary Eastwood, best result for he and Rob Bath together, third place last year in Zandvoort in the Netherlands. Can they produce the big win that Barfi has been waiting for some while? Former factory TBR driver, brought in by Martin Short in the Speed 6 originally, teamed with Michael Caine and the phenomenal Speed 12. He has yet to taste victory in British GT racing. Also a mentor for the Nissan Academy GT drivers, so he was responsible for some of the pace of Jan Mardenborough a couple of seasons ago while racing against him. And Eastwood looks fairly relaxed for a man on the brink of victory. Of course, it's all in the capable hands of Rob Bath. There is the pits on the left-hand side. 2 corners left to go. and the checkered flag will await. And after 2 hours around Rockingham, round 3 of the Avon Tyres British GT Championship will go to Rob Bath. He'll head home to Padstow in Cornwall, a very happy man, smelling of champagne and victory in Rockingham. And right behind, Matt Nicol-Jones takes the checkered flag. The Academy Motorsport boys celebrate. There's Ollie Basie-Fisher congratulating his team. GT4 victory for our Academy Motorsport duo. Despite the speed of the Aston Martins and the BMWs, it's Ferrari that win in Rockingham. Gary Eastwood and Rob Bath on the top step of the podium.
Well, congratulations. How does that feel?
Mega. Feels really, really good. We had a nightmare at Alton Park, as you know. To leave Alton Park on minus points with 2 DNFs.
With a massive crash.
A massive crash and a moderate-sized crash, a matching pair. And to come here to Rockingham, which isn't the best circuit for the Ferrari. Mega result. Gary did a brilliant, brilliant job. And all I had to do was bring it home. Today was won by Gary and our engineers. Superb.
You've got to be happy with that. That was brilliant.
Yeah, we've had a hard few weeks leading up to this, so yeah, I feel like the team did an absolutely fantastic job. Ollie gave me a great car, couldn't ask for more. Brilliant, superb.
It was incident-packed, mine, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, for me, I got in a good car and just had to maintain a gap. I knew exactly what was going on with everybody else. The team kept me really well informed, and it was really easy. I mean, it was just a case of maintaining that gap to the car behind it, and to be honest, the main thing was just looking after our tyres, and Ollie did a great job looking after the fronts, and you know, it all fell into place.
Our new Aston Martin duo, Jake Giddings and Ross Wiley, lead the GT4 standings, but teammates Andrew Howard and Johnny Adam have slipped to second. In GT3, Alexander Sims and Marco Attard are now on top of the pile.
Well, that's it from Rockingham, as Gary Eastwood and Rob Bath make it 3 different winners from 3 different races this year, proving that to win in this championship, you need speed, skill, just a little bit of luck. Join us next time at Silverstone for round 4.